welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a very blowy and extremely wet Honister Pass in the North Lake District, on the way over from Buttermere towards Keswick. And welcome to one of the last of my videos in this series of videos about how to pass an advanced driving test. Thank you. I'm going to cover courtesy in a minute in this video. I'm just going to scoop up a few of the other sort of objective elements of the advanced driving test that you could be marked on, that you will be marked on, especially if you do an IAM Road Smart test. I'm going to scoop them up in one video. There's no point in doing single videos about these elements. We'll just try and cover each of those elements individually in this video. And the first element is an element that you are marked on IAM Road Smart, and there's a similar element within your ROSPA test and on your police test as well, and that is human factors and concentration. It might be called something different on your police test, but it's about you and your attitude and your ability to concentrate. Let's look at concentration to start with. An advanced car test for IAM or ROSPA is about an hour and 15 minutes long, an hour and 10, an hour and 15 minutes long. And of course, to pass that test, you're going to need to concentrate. It's going to need your full attention. Now, a lot of people think that driving at a high standard requires 100% concentration all the time. It doesn't. If it required that, you wouldn't be able, for example, to give a commentary or have a conversation with your examiner during the test. The measure of a good driver is how much spare capacity they've got despite the level at which they're driving. So the driving shouldn't take up too much of your spare mental capacity. You need to be able to demonstrate that you can do it, that you can do this stuff, but still have some spare capacity left to think about what's happening down there. That's the important thing. So yes, you need to concentrate and it requires your full attention, and we expect to see that all the way through the test. But if I expected you to concentrate 100% for an hour and 15 minutes, you'd be shattered at the end of it. And actually you wouldn't be very relaxed, you'd be tense throughout the drive. So just find the right level of concentration. Don't be distracted by anything in the car. Switch your radios off and you know, make sure your phone isn't connected. There's no phone calls coming through on test. Just make sure you're mentally prepared for it. You're mentally prepared to give that level of concentration. On your police test, it could be a bit longer than that. It could be an hour and a half. You may be required to do 2 separate final drives, one in a manual car, one in an automatic. That's certainly what I had to do on my advanced car course back in the 90s. So get a good night's sleep beforehand. It requires your full attention. Yeah, what about courtesy? I didn't see him give us a wave to thank us. Not that it matters. Courtesy is like the lubricant that makes all the traffic work in harmony with each other on the roads. You might think that the roads are a pretty pushy place, especially if you live or work in a city, but actually, you know, a little bit of courtesy really helps everything keep moving on the roads. So give the opportunity to let somebody out of a junction in a busy part of town. Yeah, that's fine. On a road like this, you know, it's single track in places, we're looking for passing places, you want to give a bit of courtesy, you want to let people through. And it's give and take. You get the courtesy given to you as much as you give it to other people. So always remember to acknowledge your courtesy. Little tip, use your left hand, because your left hand is in the middle of the car and it's much more easily seen. If you thank people with your right hand, it tends to get hidden by this pillar. Going back to the good old days, the police courtesy signal used to be a left-handed salute, because it was seen, it was in the middle of the car. But actually all that's expected these days is put your hand up, little bit of thanks, make sure people can see that. I tend to avoid flashing my headlights to thank people because it sort of dazzles them, especially at night. It's not an official use of the hazard warning lights, but a little flash of the hazard warning lights, just a single flash, is quite a nice way to thank somebody for a courtesy and acknowledge a courtesy. And what other human factors are involved? Well, it's about your attitude as well, isn't it? It's about whether you get frustrated or whether you're too nervous, or whether you're fairly relaxed and calm and composed. You know, as an examiner, I want to sit next to somebody who doesn't appear to be working too hard. I don't want to think it's taking all of their mental capacity just to drive the car along the road. But equally, I don't want to sit next to somebody who's frustrated at other people's mistakes, who's aggressive. I mean, I'll be honest, that doesn't tend to happen very much on advanced car tests. Saw it once. The driver failed for lots of reasons. But it's that composure, it's that almost professionalism, especially in the police, it's that professionalism. Remember, if you're doing a police advanced car course, you're going out to drive police cars operationally, you're in a liveried police car, people see you, people react differently to liveried police cars. Everybody's doing the speed limit, aren't they? It used to be when I was in the police, everybody had an itchy shoulder, because they were trying to cover up the fact that they hadn't got the seatbelt on. That's not as common these days. You're usually putting the phone down these days, aren't they, if they see you in a liveried police car. But you've got to set an example as well. You know, if you're going to be stopping people and booking people for moving traffic offences, you've got to make sure you're absolutely crisp and on it with your own standard of driving, and part of that is a level of professionalism. It's not doing this in a police car, in a liveried police car, or this, or this. Press the button on the handbrake. It's a little level of professionalism. A couple of other elements we'll talk about. Both of these are on the marking sheet for the IAM test. There'll be an element about this on the ROSPA test as well. One is vehicle sympathy and one is eco driving. Now let's be clear, with the eco driving, I'm not really looking for that. This is not the most economical way to drive the car. However, going back to the previous video that we did about gears and choice of gears, I don't want you to be driving around in too high a gear that's going to be using too much fuel or putting too many emissions out. You need to drive the car in an efficient way, but I don't want you worrying too much about the eco driving element. That isn't really something that is at the top of my list as an examiner, and the other examiners will tell you the same. Mostly down to choice of gear, and as long as you have the car in the right gear for the right speed, then we'll be happy with that. Vehicle sympathy, we talked about that as well in the gear changing video. Talked about how if you're smooth with the car's controls, it wears the clutch less. You're smooth with the braking, it wears the brakes less. You're smooth with your cornering and those other elements, you create less wear on your tyres and less wear and tear on other components in the car, suspension components, etc. It's called having mechanical sympathy. And mechanical sympathy is a really nice characteristic in a driver. Sort of makes you think that, well, if I ever had to lend this person my car, I'd be happy doing that. You know, are they going to bat through this puddle here, or just go through at the right pace, so we're not in danger of ingesting water into the engine? Quite low down here, these roads are starting to flood. So we get clear of this road and back towards Penrith before it floods and over onto the road. Are you a driver who looks out for potholes in the road? Motorcyclists are particularly good at this. It's really important on the bike that you're aware of surface defects, potholes, banding that's breaking down on the road surface, things that have fallen into the road. Car drivers don't tend to be as good as that, but actually if you can spot those things early as part of the information phase of the system, then the drive will be a lot smoother and you'll be more sympathetic towards your car. You get less punches, less damage to your rims. Tyres are expensive these days, aren't they? We don't want to damage them if we can avoid it. So being mechanically sympathetic is a really nice characteristic of a good advanced driver. In the police, well, you know, you don't want to hand over your car to somebody else knowing it might have been damaged. You don't want to put the police car off the road if you can avoid it. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Operational driving in the police is different from normal civilian driving. The odd nudge here and there in a pursuit is, well, pretty acceptable these days. But on your advanced car test, it's not. A lot of people always advise that you should buy an ex-police car if you're after a cheap second-hand car. I don't advise it, because they're never cold, they do mega miles. Yes, they service well, but they're driven pretty much by rough-ass bobbies. Apart from the driving school cars, if you can find an ex-driving school car, that will have been looked after and driven properly and driven smoothly. And that's what we're looking for on your advanced car test in the police. And there is one other element you're going to be tested on as well, and this is one that a lot of people make a mistake with, certainly on the civilian advanced tests, and that is slow manoeuvring. Now in the police there's a good chance that you'll be tested separately for this, that you'll have to do a manoeuvring course somewhere near the driving school. But on your civilian advanced driving tests, IAM and ROSPA, it's fairly straightforward. It's not a hard test. I'll just expect you to reverse into a parking space on the car park that we've started from at the end of the test. But a lot of people get back to that car park and they sort of go, oh, that's it, the test's over now, they relax. They forget that it's not over until you're parked up, wheels straight, in a parking space with the engine off. You're still under test. Now when we get back to that car park, all I'll say to you is, right, find a parking space and reverse into it. I'll give you a tip. Don't pick the parking space next to my car, because if you do, it had better be a really good park. Pick another one. Make it easy for yourself. Pick the easiest parking space to reverse into. I've done a video on manoeuvring, slow manoeuvring and parking. I'll put the link in the description below. Make it as easy for you as you can for yourself. I'm not looking for you to do a difficult park. I'm looking for how you do an easy, straightforward reverse park into a parking bay. And I want the car to be evenly spaced between the lines with the wheels straight, looking properly and professionally parked. Not looking like it's been abandoned by a car thief. Little final tip as well, always look around yourself. I don't want you to just look in your mirrors when you're doing the reverse park. I want your head up, looking over your shoulders. And especially if you've got a reversing camera fitted, by all means use it. It's a really good guide, but use it as a guide and use it in the same way as you would your mirrors. Don't let that stop you looking around yourself. Do not pull up to your parking space and then stare at the reversing camera and do all your reversing off that. I want to see that you've got a good awareness of what's going on around you. So use it like you would your mirrors, but don't stare at it. Remember, you can fail with a bad park at the end. And I have failed people for doing that, just staring at the reversing camera. In the police, you'll probably do a manoeuvring course. They'll set some cones up. They'll have you reversing around the cones. Remember this, the vast majority of police vehicle accidents happen in the yard at the police station at about 2 miles an hour. Because in the middle of the night, when you're tired, that's when you forget and bump, you'll have your little shunt. Remember as well, in your police car, you should always reverse into your parking space because, well, it should be obvious. Get a job, run out of the police station. Do you want to spend 2 minutes shunting and reversing out of a space, or do you want to just get in and drive to the job? So always reverse into your parking space when you're driving operationally in the police. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to clear up a few of those other objective elements of the advanced driving test. The final video I will do, I'll tell you about how the test works, what will happen, certainly the civilian advanced driving test anyway, what will happen on the day of the test, and how to prepare yourself for it. But for now, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to go and have a look at the website, reslocal.com. Loads more information there about advanced and performance driving, information about the books that I've written, and about how to get a day's driver or rider coaching with me if you want a nice ride out on some of these roads, maybe when it's not raining as hard. Wish I brought my swimming trunks today. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.